That morning, I seen like, I was coming downstairs and I thought, well, you know what, we have to get ready to get out of here. My wife had the feeling that we needed to get out of New York. I was supposed to do a talk up at McGill University over here. And actually, I was supposed to do it on the, I think it was the 11th or the 12th. It was actually on that day, or the next day. I'm not sure which day it was, but it was right there in that same time period. I was going to stop at my sister's house in Buffalo, New York, and then head over to McGill. But instead of doing that, what I did was, I got lost. I had been away from New York so long, instead of taking the 87D and going north, I took the 95 and ended up on the same route the so-called terrorists were plotting and scheming over there at Logan Airport in Boston, Massachusetts. I said, well, you know, finally after a while, by the time we got to Providence, Rhode Island, I said, you know what, something's not right here. Realized that we were not going on the right path, so I said, well, you know what? And I called my sister real late and said, hey, we're not going to be able to go. We're not going to be able to make it up there. We'll see you on the way back down. We might stop back after we stop in Montreal. So we went straight up to Montreal to my beloved sister's house right now that I'm at right now while I'm here. And anyway, so we get there, and as we get there, then we hear about the next morning, 9/11 happening. Now, what's really strange is because we could have been in the hotel. We could have been in the hotel that went down on 9/11. When the buildings came down, we could have been in the Marriott Hotel where 300 people were killed, including 39 firemen. The hotel that we were in, when we left that morning, there was over 200 FEMA agents, I suspect, in my count, over 200 FEMA agents in their uniforms running around. Well, now, if anybody, if you're studying anything relative to 9/11, you'll see that FEMA has said that they were not there before 9/11. They weren't there before September the 11th. They weren't in town. They came in that morning when it went down. Well, this is a lie. They were already there. I seen 200 agents running around. And I realized later on that they were involved in the mop-up operation known as Operation Tripod, which was one that had the sanctioning of Jerome Howard from Kroll Securities of the Twin Towers, as well as Rudy Giuliani, who is my serious political nemesis, and I'm going to tell you a story about that very quickly here. Very quickly. I'm going to bring some real serious things home. Bring it to light. So now, we're up there. We do the gig at McGill. McGill kind of tells me, after I say 9/11 was an inside job, that was my gut feeling, McGill banned me from coming there. I don't even know if I can still go there anymore, but I really don't care what McGill wants and what McGill doesn't want. You know I'm going to speak the truth no matter where I go, the way I see it, and I don't care who likes it, who don't like it. I'm going to tell it like I understand it. I have to tell the truth. Because each and every one of us sitting in this room, whether we want to know it or not, or have dealt with it or not, when 9/11 happened and 3,000 people were murdered on that day, we all looked at those buildings going down, and we saw nothing but a super snuff movie designed to totally traumatize our mind and put us in a state of post-traumatic syndrome. And I wonder how many people here have gotten that out of your minds, have come to peace with that. I figured the only way I can come to peace with that is to find out what really happened there. Find out what happened there. And the more I realized that it was an inside job, and the more I laid out and found out every principle involved in making it an inside job, the more I began to re-empower myself and come back into my being. More I began to feel my inside power again, my strength. I didn't feel helpless and at the mercy of the brigades of killers that are on the loose all around us. Anybody agree? Yeah. We don't need to pay psychologists $100 an hour to get us back in sync. We just need to do the research and get ourselves back in sync and re-empower ourselves with the truth. Or at least what we believe to be the truth. Now, you don't have to believe a single word I say. I'm not even asking you to do that. I'm just going to tell you what I believe. And if you agree with it, cool. If you don't, that's your business too. That's called free choice, and I believe in that. I believe in that. Well, let me tell you what I found out. First of all, I had been accused of killing a cop during the 1971 Attica Rebellion at the age of 19. And to this day, I can say that I may have accidentally hurt somebody. I don't know who it was. And he may have died as a result of something that I'd done, bringing a gate down at Attica. And that was, well, I was 19 years old, right? I'm now almost 58. And that was almost 40 years ago. And, well, I feel sorry for the family, and but I also realized that post Attica during that time, that the state troopers came in and murdered 43 people, and they killed, including 10 of their own, in the retaking of the prison. And I'll tell you about that massacre at the end of this speech here. And to this day, not a single person, not a state trooper or a guard that went in the retaking of the prison with their own guns, went in and killed inmates, calling everybody, every kind of nigger under the sun you could think of. And there was a second grand jury that was impaneled to investigate those murders. And of course, Nelson Rockefeller was facing confirmation as the Vice President of the United States under Gerald Ford. And there were Senate Select Committee hearings going on, man, to nail him against the wall for the bloodbath at Attica State Prison. But then, of course, and then he tried to suppress any evidence going into the second grand jury. And there was a whistleblower by the name of Malcolm Bell that wrote a 60-page report to the New York Times. The New York Times sat on that report for 2 months while I was on trial for allegedly killing this guard named William Quinn. Sat on that report until after I was convicted, and after I was convicted, then they released the report to the public, and then the succeeding governor, Hugh Carey, then orders this commission on Attica, right? And for 4.5 years, they finally had this commission, and the commission found that, one, that Rockefeller had actually committed jury tampering, and suppressed any evidence going to the second grand jury, on the murders that were committed by the state trooper and the tortures. You get it? The murder and the tortures that we all lived through. Murder and tortures. Serious tortures. I won't even get into the kind of tortures we went through, but we can certainly identify with those that were being tortured in Abu Ghraib, Bagram, and Guantanamo Bay. You can believe we understand the nature of being tortured and persecuted. So, I end up being the only person going to jail. They suspended, the rest of the Attica brothers, all of their trials were put on suspension. New York State Troopers, they suspended the second grand jury. I ended up doing 4 years, and then the commission said, makes recommendations. The succeeding governor, Hugh Carey, says, we're going to close the books on Attica. Makes a big announcement. And so the first thing we're going to do is grant a blanket amnesty to all the state troopers for the murders.